You know, it's funny. Sometimes to build the future, you actually have to go digging through the past. And it turns out some of the most radical, forward-thinking ideas for artificial intelligence might be hiding in a place most of us have never, ever thought to look. So let's dive into this.
We're living with this strange paradox, right? Our AI models today are just breathtakingly powerful, but at the same time, they're also surprisingly brittle. I mean, an AI can pass the bar exam, but it still struggles with the kind of basic physical world reasoning a toddler has mastered. So what's the missing piece here?
Well, what if the answer lies on a road we never even knew existed? An entirely different branch of AI's evolutionary tree that grew in total isolation for decades, shaped by a completely different set of pressures, philosophies, and constraints. Today, we are going to unearth the lost world of Soviet AI.
To really get this, we have to understand the crucible this world was forged in. This wasn't just a different lab with a different budget. This was a place where the very idea of AI was subject to this intense ideological whiplash, swinging from a forbidden pseudoscience to a national priority almost overnight. So get this. In the early 1950s, under the super-rigid ideology of late Stalinism, the entire field of cybernetics, which is basically the science of control that underpins AI, was officially condemned. State-run journals were calling it a dangerous capitalist plot designed to replace conscious human workers with unthinking robots.
But then, Stalin dies, and everything flips on its head. I mean, a complete 180. In just a few years, cybernetics went from being this forbidden, evil idea to a state-sponsored priority. Suddenly, it was rebranded as the ultimate tool for creating a perfectly optimized, centrally planned communist state. This insane whiplash between total condemnation and total celebration shaped everything that came next.
But ideology wasn't the only pressure cooker. Maybe the single most important factor that shaped Soviet AI was something way more tangible: a serious, chronic lack of computing power. 4%. Just let that sink in for a second. According to a declassified CIA report, that's how the Soviet Union's semiconductor output compared to the US in the mid-70s. This wasn't a small gap, it was a canyon. The massive computational horsepower that was just starting to fuel AI in the West, it just wasn't on the table for them. So what do you do when you can't just throw more computers at a problem? You have to get smarter. This hardware scarcity acted as a powerful forcing function. Soviet researchers couldn't afford to be computationally extravagant. They were forced down a different path, one that valued theoretical elegance, structured knowledge, and pure logic over raw processing power.
And this is where you really see the two paths diverge. You've got the West, with Moore's law at its back, sprinting towards these massive, data-hungry statistical models, the brute force approach. And then you have the Soviets, forced by necessity to build their AI on a foundation of formal logic and efficiency. It was a completely different kind of genius, born out of scarcity.
Okay, so this is where we put on our intellectual archaeologist hats. We're going to dig into what's known as the Moscow School of AI, led by a visionary thinker named Dmitry Pospelov. Because the ideas they came up with, honestly, they are shockingly relevant today.
First up is this idea of situational control. So instead of trying to create one giant, perfect, all-encompassing mathematical model of the entire world, which, let's be real, is basically impossible, they did something really clever. They built flexible, language-like descriptions of the current context. The AI would then reason over that situation to figure out what to do next. It's essentially the granddaddy of modern context-aware computing.
Next, they developed something called action frames. Now, while a lot of Western AI was focused on pattern recognition, this was about encoding behavior. Think of them like structured recipes that explicitly bake in social norms and rules from the very beginning. It's a way of building ethical constraints directly into an AI's core architecture, not as some kind of afterthought.
Okay, this one might be my favorite. Pospelov's team worked on pseudo-physical logics. What a name, right? This was their direct attempt to formalize the naive or common-sense reasoning we all use every single day. You know, how we understand that if you drop a glass, it will fall, or that you can't be in two places at once. This directly targets the exact common-sense problem that still plagues our biggest, most advanced language models today.
And what's truly remarkable when you put all this together is their focus on social intelligence. They were developing models for ritual behavior, to understand rule-based social interactions. They studied imitative behavior, not just to copy an action, but to figure out the underlying logic of why it was performed. And they worked on role behavior, allowing an AI to adapt its actions based on whether it's supposed to be an assistant, a tutor, or a collaborator. I mean, come on, these are all cutting-edge challenges in AI research right now.
So, this is all fascinating history. But here's the kicker. How can these forgotten blueprints from a lost world actually help us solve today's problems? Well, it turns out they map directly onto some of the biggest challenges we're facing in AI.
The connections here are just crystal clear. Their pseudo-physical logics, that's a direct shot at our modern quest for common-sense reasoning. Their action frames, that's a potential blueprint for building an AI ethics and safety from the ground up. Their entire logic-based approach offers a solution to the black box problem of explainable AI, and their work in control theory is crucial for building robots we can actually trust. It's all right there. So what does this give us? It gives us a potential path forward, a blueprint for a better AI. You could take a hybrid approach. Step 1. Integrate this kind of symbolic logic to give our current models a backbone of real-world common sense. Step 2. Build in formal models of social norms to create inherently safer systems. And Step 3. Use structured, language-like reasoning to finally crack open the black box and make AI truly explainable.
Ultimately, the Soviet school of AI was a casualty of the Cold War's end. It just kind of fizzled out. But its legacy, that intense focus on logic, on structure, and on formal models of behavior, all born out of sheer necessity, that may be exactly what we need to build the next generation of AI. One that is not just powerful, but also efficient, robust, and trustworthy.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? In our huge rush forward, we've kind of created a monoculture and how we develop AI. But this history proves there are other ways to think about intelligence, and it leaves us with one big question. What other lost ideas from other forgotten histories could be waiting to be rediscovered to help us shape our future?